Next category that we had is glass ceiling. And guys, I put Miami, Ole Miss, Colorado, and NC State into this grouping. And all four of these programs are in very different stages, right? So I'm sure on Twitter, the comments are going to be just howling about how on earth all of these programs are on the same list. And listen, this tier system is not saying that Dave Dorn at NC State is somehow better than Kurt Signetti or any of the coaches below them, right? I know tier maker gets used like that. These are just sections that I've put the coaches into. And yeah, generally, the better you are, the higher up this list that you're going to be, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not a power ranking system. So I think we've talked about Miami quite a bit. And I think my frustration with Miami is they just had the best quarterback over a 1 year in school history in Cam Ward, and they couldn't outfit a defense that could stop a nosebleed. And so once again, it feels like Mario Cristobal's reputation of throwing away great chances at championships continues to stay latched onto him, and that's my main issue with him. So too with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, a very decent schedule. They have all the weapons out wide. They got a solid enough quarterback performance from Jackson Dart, and yet they were losing at home to Kentucky. Every time they had a real moment, other than beating Georgia, every time they had a real moment to kind of stamp and take that next rung as a true national championship contender, they fell, right? And so it just kind of feels like Kiffin's bumping up against something that's not going to let him progress. I think the same with Colorado. I think Prime, I don't know that he's ever going to have a more talented team, a team that he cares about as much as he did with his sons playing on it, with Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner, playing on it. I just don't see how Colorado gets better, quite honestly, than what they've had this past season. And I think Dave Doran, he makes it up into this list as well, because we were talking about NC State as a playoff contender a couple of seasons ago. Even last year, they were a dark horse playoff contender. They were kind of a trendy pick to go 9-3 or maybe 10-2 and sneak in. And the wheels seem to have fallen off up there in Raleigh. So questions or thoughts on the glass ceiling?
I think that that's a great name for this tier because it's all kind of schools that are going to run into some sort of issue too. They're not necessarily, I know Miami and Colorado have both won national championships in the not too extremely distant past. It's been a couple decades, but they are programs like Miami is a small private school that has a tiny enrollment. Most of their fan base didn't actually attend University of Miami. Ole Miss, when you're talking about enrollment, when you're talking about fan base size, when you're talking about number of big donors that can make a move, not going to be in the top 5 or 6 of the SEC and the schools that they're going up against. Colorado won a national championship in the 90s, but again, not going to be in a football crazy part of the state or part of the country. And NC State is a school that I can't remember the exact stat, but before Dave Doran, I think had won 10 games one time with Philip Rivers. So it's all schools that don't have a ton going for them. They have really good coaches, but Glass Ceiling is a great, great name for this tier because there's probably going to be something that keeps them from going. Mario Cristobal might be like a human glass ceiling for Miami. I think Miami is the one that you should debate me on by saying that they don't have a lot going for them because they do have a lot of money infused into that program, obviously, but they might have the coach that's keeping them from hitting their true ceiling.
Well, but that's actually a good point about Miami. And I can't remember if it was our group chat or if you and I talking about college baseball the other day. Miami feels like an athletic program that's honestly on the way down in its entirety, right? Like Jim Larinaga just leaving the basketball program. He doesn't want to put up with it anymore. Miami baseball has not been the bruiser that we've been used
You
to.
used to be able to set your calendar to a regional and a super regional taking place in
Yes.
Coral Gables. And I don't know the last time that it happened, but it's been a few years.
Yeah. So I just feel like Miami in general is kind of on the way down. I'm sure Canes fans are going to take issue with that, but until Cristobal wins a championship, and listen, going 5-7 to 7-5, and now to what 10-3, I guess after they lost the bowl game, there's definite improvement. but you've continued to miss championship opportunities in each of those 3 seasons with losses that you should not have suffered. And I think that goes back to my issues with Cristobal in general.
Yeah, and honestly, this whole glass ceiling conversation really does mean different things to different people. For us, we're looking at Miami as like we don't think that they can maybe get over that top. For a guy like Lane Kiffin, I think
Mario Cristobal.
Cristobal, yeah, sorry.
Cristobal can't.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but for a guy like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, we're kind of sitting here saying we've seen the max. We've seen what you do when you get the top portal class. We've seen what you do when you have an easy schedule. We've seen what you do when, we set the entire thing up for you to be able to succeed. And what you do is you win a bunch of games, but you don't win championships. It's the ceiling, right? And they win a bunch of games. And they go out there and they'll inevitably next year, they'll put up 70 on, some nobody that we don't really care about. And we'll talk about how good Ole Miss is and how great their offense looks. And they'll throw a couple of trick plays and some razzle-dazzle in there. And Lane Kiffin will throw his clipboard, and it'll be a lot of fun. And that's what it is for Ole Miss. It's a lot of fun. It's a great party, right? You got the Grove. You got a whole bunch of people out there having a great time. But ultimately, if you want to talk championships, Lane Kiffin's not your guy. He just can't get it done. He hasn't shown that he can. And he's had every opportunity and every sort of advantage to with, again, portal classes and ability to get it done. Outside of maybe just some resources and a little bit of NIL, I mean, this guy's got everything you could possibly want to go win in today's college football, and he just hasn't gotten over the hump with some pretty great teams.
There's a reason why Florida did not pull the trigger to hire him in September, right, over Billy Napier. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Gracious him. How about that?